Good morning, everybody. Good morning. A very warm and a hearty welcome to each one of you over here. I hope you can hear me and see the screen very properly. Yes,
I hope you can hear me and
yes,
see the
let me
screen
reduce
very
the
properly.
echo over here. Yes, I think everything is fine by right now. So, those who are watching this session, don't forget to hit the like button. Yes, good morning, Rajani Bala. Good morning, Pranav. Okay, so today we are going to start with a brand new chapter from our botany class 12. Yes, good morning, Deekshit. A brand new chapter, sexual reproduction in flowering plants. And I hope the last chapter that we taught all of you, okay, Harshita, okay. I hope you all have understood what we discussed in the last class regarding the other chapters, and we concluded the chapter number 1, that is reproduction in organism, with a Maha Menti quiz on the previous year questions. So after the class, don't forget to like, share, subscribe our wonderful channel BioPoint Stream the World of Bio. This is a wonderful Telegram group. The classes are starting on 15th September 2020. This is our brand new Telegram group for class 2021-2022 Neet batch. Go to Telegram and join at our Telegram group, a small family where we discuss each and everything at BioPoint New. So without wasting much time, moving on to the super amazing chapter from our class 12 botany, that is reproduction in flowering plants. Yes, with all your permission, I'm going to move with this wonderful chapter. Yes, before that, give me a thumbs up on the chat box if you are enjoying the session. Yes. So sexual reproduction in flowering plants. Flowering plants generally indicate what? Flowering plants generally means angiosperm, because angiosperms only can make flower, because they seeds are only covered. They have a covered seed, right? Yes. So the flowering plants, which is referred to as the angiosperms, will show sexual mode of reproduction. Will show a sexual mode of reproduction. And we all know that flowers are the site of sexual reproduction. Flower is the area of sexual reproduction. Am I right? Yes. So, all flowering plants show sexual reproduction, and flowers are the sites of sexual reproduction. Yes. So several hormonal. We studied in class 11th about the different type of plant growth hormones as well as plant growth inhibitors, right? So several hormones and the structural changes result in differentiation and development of the floral primordium. Okay, and what do you mean by inflorescence? Inflorescence means it bear a floral buds, which then converts into flowers. For example, this is an example for an inflorescence. It's a diagram of inflorescence. Yes, yes. So inflorescence means a group of flowers. Inflorescence means a group of flowers born on the same axis of a flower. So in the same axis of the flower, you can have a number of flowers are born. So that type you will call it as the inflorescence. Class 11th morphology chapter, we have studied exactly, Harshita. A group of flowers born on the same axis, you will call it as the inflorescence. Very good. Then in the last class we studied about the pre-fertilization event, then the fertilization event and the post-fertilization event. So in that is in the last chapter we discussed everything in a very short manner. Just term technically what all does it means. So in this chapter we are going to discuss in detail about the pre-fertilization, fertilization and the post-fertilization events happening in case of a plant. So first we are going to study about the structure of a flower. A typical flower has mainly two parts, two main reproductive parts. That is, first one is Antritium, second one is Gynoecium. Can anyone tell me which is known as the male part of the plant? Which among the two is known as the male part?
Second one is Gynoecium.
Yes, tell me. Which one is known as the male part of the plant? Is it Antritium or is it Gynoecium? Yes, absolutely, Pranav. It is Antritium, guys. So Antritium is the male part of a flower, and Gynoecium is the female part of a flower. Yes, absolutely, Harshida and Dikshit. Dikshit, it is not Gynoecium. It is Antritium, which is the male part, and Antritium is the male part of the flower, and Gynoecium is the female part of the flower. Okay, it is not Gynoecium, it is Antritium, male part, and Gynoecium is the female part of the flower. So we are going to discuss about these two things which are known as the essential parts of a flower. Antritium and Gynoecium, you will call it as the essential part of a flower. Yes. So first we are going to discuss in detail about Antritium and its structure. Okay, I hope you understood. Yes, next we are going to discuss about Antritium. Antritium is the male reproductive part of a flower. Antritium can be referred to as the male reproductive part of a flower. It consists of a wall of stamens. Okay, stamens. Antritium consists of a group of stamens. Their number and length are variable in different species. Their number and lengths are variable in different species, and there is an important function for the difference in the number and the size and length of this Antritium. There is a particular function that it does. Guys, look at the diagram. The male part is known as the Antritium. The male part of the plant is known as the Antritium. The Antritium consists of individual units of Antritium. You will call it as stamen. Stamens are the individual unit. Okay, stamens are the individual unit. Okay, stamens are the individual unit of Antritium, and the stamen consists of mainly of two parts, that is the anther and the filament. I think these all are common things which you know, right? I hope these all are the common things which you know. That is, Antritium consists of individual units called stamens. The stamens consist of two main parts, anther and filament. Inside the anther, you will have the Microsporangium. Inside the anther, you will have the Microsporangium, and this Microsporangium bears what? Microsporangium consists or bears of the male gametophyte, that is the pollen grain. Okay, pollen grain is the male gametophyte. Pollen grain is the male gametophyte. It is not the male gamete. Okay, there is no specific name for the male gamete, but pollen grain is the male gametophyte. Yes. So we are going to discuss in detail about each and everything that we discussed now. Yes, next one. So these are the main two parts of stamens. Uh-oh. These are the main things about stamen. The stamen is consisting of two main parts. The stamen consists of two main parts, that is the filament and the anther. So anther and the filament are the two main important parts of what? Okay, so filament and anther are the two parts of the stamen. I have already discussed stamen is the individual units of Antritium. It consists of two main parts, filament and anther. Anther is this particular portion, the topmost portion, the bilobed structure. Okay, this bilobed structure is called the anther, and the long, slender, tube-like part you will call it as a filament. Suppose this is the filament, and in the top of the filament you will have the bilobed anther. Okay, the bilobed anther will be there, and this bilobed anther will be consisting of the pollen grain, will be consisting of the pollen grains which are released at the specific condition. At specific condition you would have the pollen grains released. I hope you are clear with these parts of Antritium. Next we are going to discuss about stamen focusing. What do you mean by stamen? Stamen is the individual unit of this Antritium. Individual units of Antritium, you will call it as the stamen. And the stamen consists of two main parts, Antritium and Gynecium. And we are going to discuss about the first part, that is a filament. Yes, what is filament? Filament is a long slender stalk of the Antritium. Filament is the long and slender stalk of the Antritium. Its proximal end, proximal means this particular end is attached to the thalamus, attached to the thalamus or the petal of the flower, attached to the thalamus or the petal of the flower. This is an important diagram. Guys, have you all taken or opened your NCERT textbook? These three diagrams are there in your NCERT. That's why I just pasted these three diagrams itself in this slide in order to make you ensure you that these all are important diagrams which will be asked for our examination. Yes. So guys, this part, this bilobed structure, you will call it as the anther, and this long, slender, stalk-like structure, you will call it as the filament. Yes, yes, Nila. Back to the class. Yes. Then here we'll discuss in detail about after discussing about anther also. So according to us, filament is the long and stalk-like portion of the Antritium, and its proximal end is attached to the thalamus or the petal of the flower. Okay, Harshita. Is it okay, Srujana? Have you understood the points that we discussed now? Second part is the anther. Anther is terminal and it is typically a bilobed structure. Look, look, this is a bilobed structure, right? Bilobe. This is one lobe and one lobe in the back. Bilobed structure. So, anther is a bilobed structure, and each lobe consists of two thecae. Since it consists of two thecas, you will call it as a dithecous anther. So a typical angiosperm has a bilobed dithecous anther. Look at the diagram, everyone. Dithecous. Yes. This is section of an anther. This is a section of an anther, and these round colored substance, you will call it as the pollen grain, which are stored inside the pollen sac. That is the anther. Okay. So often a longitudinal groove runs lengthways separating the two theca. Yes, look at this diagram. It will be more clear for you. Look, a longitudinal groove runs through the center. A longitudinal groove runs through the center, right? This longitudinal groove runs through the center, which you will be calling it as the which will be the longitudinal groove which is running lengthwise separating the two thecas. Yes, so that's all about anther and filament. So again, I am repeating the same thing. Antritium is the male reproductive part of the plant. Antritium is the male reproductive part of the plant. It consists of individual units called the stamens, and each stamen consists of two main parts, Antritium and stamen and it consists of two main parts. Okay, stamens consist of two main parts, that is anther and the filament. Filament is the long, slender, stalk-like structure, and anther is the bilobed dithecous structure which is present at the terminal position, and there is a longitudinal groove that runs lengthwise separating the two theca. Next we are going to discuss about Antritium. Okay, sorry. Next, we are going to discuss about Antritium. What do you mean by Antritium? Antritium, we already discussed it. Antritium is the male reproductive part of the flower. So the anther is a tetragonal structure. Anther is a tetragonal structure. Okay, which consists of four microsporangia, Guys, in case of males, you will call it as a microsporangia. Whereas in case of the female flower, you will call it as a megasporangia. Okay, the male gamete, you will be calling it as a microspore. You will be calling the male gamete as the microspore, and the female gamete you will call it as the megaspore. That is the difference. Okay, whenever you hear that term, just understand whether it is pertaining to the male part or the female part. Yes. Yes, Shraddha, don't no issues, because we discussed only the initial points in the first, and now we are getting into detail of this chapter. Yes, I hope you know about this microspores and megaspores, right? Yes. So it consists of four microsporangia. So a typical anther consists of how many microsporangia? Four. Look, this is one microsporangia number one, microsporangia number two, microsporangia number three, microsporangia number four. So how many pollen sac or microsporangia? Four. Four microsporangia are present in a typical anther, which are located at the corners, which is two in each lobe. You can see two in each lobe. This is one lobe. One lobe you can see two, another lobe you can see two. If you transversely cut it, one lobe two, another lobe also you can have the two. The microsporangia will develop into pollen sac, which contains the pollen grain. So the pollen sac always bears the pollen grain. They extend longitudinally all through the length and are packed with the typical male gametophyte, which is known as the pollen grains. Pollen grains are not, don't misconfuse. Pollen grains are the male gametophyte. Pollen grains are the male gametophyte. This inside the pollen grain only you will have the haploid male gametes, right? If the pollen grain is like this, so the pollen grain will germinate, the pollen tube will be arising from the pollen grain, and this pollen tube will consist of two male gametes which arise from the generative cell of the pollen grain. We would be discussing in detail about each thing. Yes, male gametophyte, not male gamete. It's a very important question. Yes. Next one, we are going to discuss about the structure of microsporangium. Structure of microsporangium. Those who are preparing for your boards, this will be a 5-mark essay question. Those who are preparing for your boards, this will be a 5 marks essay question. Okay, 5-mark essay question about the structure of microsporangium will be asked to describe in detail about microsporangium. A simple 5-mark essay where you are going to get that total 5 marks. So a typical microsporangium is nearly circular in outline. A typical microsporangium is circular in outline. It consists of mainly 4 different wall layers, at least 25 times repeated MCQ. At least 25 times repeated MCQ to arrange these 4 wall layers. So definitely Neet 2021 students, a guarantee for you from me. This would definitely be asked for your 2021 board examination. Not board exam, for your Neet examination. Am I audible, everyone? Yes. So these are the layers. So please try to study it by the order itself. That is, first one, the outermost layer will be the epidermis. Inner to the epidermis, you will have the endothecium. Inner to the endothecium, you will have the middle layers, and finally it is the tapetum. Finally, it will have the tapetum. The first three layers, that is from epidermis to middle layers, all these three layers give protection and helps in the dehiscence of anther. What do you mean by dehiscence of anther? Dehiscence means opening of the anther, and what is its function? In order to release the pollen grain. The epidermis, endothecium, and middle layers have to get opened. So these helps in the dehiscence of anther and also provide protection to the pollen grain. And what is the function of tapetum? Tapetum is a nutritive layer. Which nourishes the developing pollen grain. Yes, I hope everyone knows this because I'm getting the correct answers from everyone. Very good, Harshita. Very good, Neela. Very good. Yes, Harshita doing well today. Okay, yes, Pranav. Very good. Yes. So these are the four main wall layers of Antritium or Microsporangium. It consists of four main wall layers, that is epidermis, endothecium, middle layers and tapetum, and the first three layers are contributing towards the dehiscence of anther and also protection, and the last layer, that is a tapetum, helps in the nourishment of the developing pollen grain. Very important. I'm going to show you something very important. This diagram, let me check whether it is in the next page or not. Yes, I'll explain it over here itself. Look at this diagram, guys. Very important diagram. Very important. This is also one important question for your NEET examination. First, let's look at diagram number A. Then let's look at diagram number B after that. Yes. Yes, Harshita. Very good. Look at diagram number A. This is the outermost layer. Look, I hope you can see the outermost layer. The outermost layer is all about the epidermis. Outer layer is the epidermis. Then the inner layer, this is the inner layer, and this inner layer you will call it as the endothecium. Those who have your NCRT, please comment me the page number if you can. Yes, if you have your NCRT in your hand, please comment the page number where you can find this particular two diagrams. I think fourth page. I think fourth page of your NCRT this chapter. Yes, I hope it's so. It's on the fourth page. I don't have NCRT by my hand now. Yes. Then this inner layer, this the middle layer. This layer you will call it as the middle layers. Okay, which you will call it as the middle layers. Yes, page number 22. Then this is the innermost layer. The innermost layer you will be calling it as the tapetum. And inner to the tapetum you have one more extra tissue which you will calling it as the sporogenous tissue. That is all about your diagram number A. Please understand the marking. Yes, Dr. Dima, after a long time back in the class. Yes, how are you doing? Hope you're fine, right? Yes. How is the studies going? Yes, let's move on to the diagram number B. This is your diagram number B, the outermost layer. Guys, apart from this, this diagram is a frequently asked MCQ question. Frequently asked MCQ question. Guys, can you all hear me now? Can you all hear me now? Am I audible now?
Guys, can you all hear me now?
Yes. I hope it's fine.
Can you all hear me now? Am I audible now? Guys, can you all hear me now? Yes. I hope it's fine. Can you all hear me now? Am I audible now? Guys, can you all hear me now? Yes.
Yes. It was a small problem with this. Oh. Guys, please wait for 1 minute. Okay, please wait for 1 minute. It's being in a hurry. A presentation is not responding. Yes. One second. 1 second. We'll begin the class. Oh. Guys, how is your preparations and everything is going? Is it fine? How is it going? Tell me. Hope you all taken it seriously the last day's examination. Yes. Guys, am I audible to everyone? Am I audible to everybody? Why I'm not getting any reply? Yes. Okay, definitely Harshita. Okay, no issue. Oh my god. Yes. Okay, let's continue back with the class. I hope everything is fine. Yes. Epidermis, endothelium, middle layers, tapetum. We already discussed about that. Yes. Moving on with the next one. Tapetum. We already discussed that. The other three layers, that is the endodermis, epidermis, endothelium, middle layers, helps in the dehiscence of anther and protection. Yes, and then we discussed that tapetum is the most innermost layer. Tapetum is the innermost layer which helps in the nourishment of the developing pollen grain. Guys, suppose if for the exam they are giving you sporogenous tissue also along with the wall layers, then make sure that you arrange sporogenous tissue will be the fifth one. If they are asking you to arrange it from outside to inside, after tapetum only, inside to tapetum, guys, this is tapetum. Okay, this is tapetum. This blue color is tapetum and this is the sporogenous tissue. Okay, this is the sporogenous. So you will have sporogenous tissue is interior, is located interior of the tapetum only. So if they are asking you to arrange it like that, and most students get wrong over here is that they will get confused which is the outermost layer, which is the inner layer. So for that you have to read out the NCRT. You have to remember this diagram. Okay, and more probably you can expect a question from this area. And please don't forget to study the chapters biotechnology. Actually, everybody will be telling that the more weightage will be for genetics and all. Okay, but those who have written NEET 2020 might be knowing more questions were from biotechnology. Am I right? Apart from genetics only, I have seen only 4 or 5 questions. Actually, everybody, all previous years, if you check, there must be at least 14 questions, 14 from all the 3 chapters: genetics, molecular basis, and evolution. But this NEET 2020, there were 9 or 10 questions from biotechnology 2 chapters. Genetics only very few questions were asked. And please don't think that animal kingdom is not important. Animal kingdom is important. But this time, unfortunately, we haven't got any question for NEET 2020 from the chapter Animal Kingdom. Yes. Okay, Dekshin. Okay. Guys, and the other thing is, we have already completed living world biological classification. Sure, sure. Okay, thank you. Thank you for attending the session. Make sure that you understand each topics up to where we taught in the class so that you could follow in the next class. That's it. We have already completed living world, biological classification, plant kingdom, and also one more chapter, reproduction in organisms. So make sure that you study all these things. So day after tomorrow you will have the Maha Menti quiz on this topic, the mock test number 1. The mock test number 1, we are starting with the Mission MBBS for class 11 and 12 NEET 2021-2022 batch. Okay, with all these chapters, questions will be there. 2020 students will be knowing about the Mission MPBS and about the mock test and everything. Then next one, cells of the tapetum contains dense cytoplasm, very important. What are the important, or what are the typical features of cells of tapetum? The cells of tapetum consist of dense cytoplasm and generally have more than one nucleus. They generally have more than one nucleus, and the cell cytoplasm is also very dense. In young anther, each microsporangium has a sporogenous tissue at the center. It consists of compactly arranged homogeneous diploid cells called sporogenous cells. Okay, in case of young anthers, you would have seen a specialized tissue known as sporogenous tissue, which consists of compactly packed cells called sporogenous cells. And what is a ploidy? Guys, what do you mean by ploidy? Ploidy means you have to tell me whether it is 2n or n. That is diploid or it is haploid. So what is the ploidy of the sporogenous cell? It is a diploid cell. And what are the importance of tapetum? It helps in the protection, nourishment of the developing pollen grain. Next one is we are going to discuss in detail about the process of microsporogenesis. The microsporogenesis, the process refers to the anther develops. As the anther develops, we already told that the sporogenous cells, other name is microspore mother cell or pollen mother cell. Microspore mother cell or pollen mother cell, you will call it as a sporogenous cells. Okay, sporogenous cells or microspore mother cell or pollen mother cell, they undergo meiotic division. Okay, in case for the formation of male and female gamete or male or female sex cells, they have to undergo, the parent have to undergo meiotic division instead of mitotic division. Meiotic division is to reduce the chromosome number into half, so that after fertilization the chromosome number of the plant or the organism will be retained. So the microspore mother cell or the pollen mother cell undergo meiotic division to form microspore tetrad. Microspore tetrad, which means that the microspores are arranged in a cluster of 4 cells. Look guys, This is the sporogenous tissue, right? Sporogenous tissue consists of compactly packed cells called sporogenous cells. So this undergo mitotic division to form tetrad, microspore tetrad. This is one pollen grain, another pollen grain, another pollen grain, another pollen. Okay, four microspore tetrad. So what do you simply call the process of microsporogenesis? The formation of microspore from a pollen mother cell. The formation of microspores from pollen mother cell through the process of meiosis. You will be calling it as a microsporogenesis. Very important for your state CBSE boards. I'll explain it very clearly. Look into the diagram. Guys, this is the typical anther. The typical anther is a bilobed structure, and it consists of four main parts. Yes. Then next one, the sporogenous tissue. This is a sporogenous cells. So this is the epidermis, endothelium, middle layers, and tapetum. Inner to the tapetum, you will have the sporogenous cells. The sporogenous cells will produce sporogenous tissue will produce a sporogenous cells. The sporogenous cells we also known as the pollen mother cell or a sporogenous cell or microspore mother cell. They undergo meiotic division. The pollen mother cell undergo meiotic division to form microspore tetrad. And finally what happens, the microspore tetrad separate to have pollen grain. Meiotic and meiosis are same. Okay, meiotic meiosis is same. Mitosis is same. Okay, mitotic and mitosis is same. Meiotic and meiosis is the same. Meiotic means, so when we discuss about class 11 cell cycle, cell division, it would be more clear and perfect. Yes. So the process of formation of pollen grains from pollen mother cell, you will call it as with the help of meiosis, you will call it as the. We have a lengthy chapter. This is a very lengthy chapter, guys. Very lengthy chapter. At 11:30, we'll exactly finish off the class. And I just planned to take I just plan to complete this chapter, the pre-fertilization even in one class, then fertilization even in the next class, then post-fertilization even in the last class. But I'm not sure whether I could finish it like that. I think today I would be finishing up to the male gamete, that is a Antritium structure and everything. Next class about gynoecium and its structure. After that about pollination, as we will go like that. Yes, I think that would be more better and fine. So microsporogenesis is the formation of microspores from the pollen mother cell by the process of meiosis inside the anther. As the anther mature and dehydrate, the microspore dissociate from each other and develop into pollen grains. Microspore, look, these are the pollen grains, and this is the typical structure of a mature anther after the process of its dehiscence. Each microsporangium contains thousands of pollen grain. Each microsporangium contains thousands of pollen grains, and they are released with the dehiscence of anther. Do you know? I hope you all have seen the pollen grains. It is a yellow colored powdery substance. It is the yellow colored powdery substance in all the male flowers. So next we are going to discuss in detail about Antritium, the male gametophyte, that is the pollen grain. So we are going to discuss about the pollen grain, that is the male gametophyte. Uh-oh. Guys, am I audible now? Or is it buffering? Is it buffering or am I audible? Please tell me fast. Guys, is it audible or I hope there is no issue. I'm continuing with the class. Oh, today's class is full of problems. 1 second. Just wait for 1 second. Yes. So the pollen grain is the male gametophyte, which is generally spherical in structure. Pollen grains are generally spherical in shape. It is 25 to 50 millimeter in diameter. This is the diameter. This is the diameter. This is the diameter, right? Diameter, you know. So they are generally spherical. So generally spherical, and the cytoplasm is surrounded by the plasma membrane. The cytoplasm is surrounded with the help of a plasma membrane. Guys, I lost the connection over here. That's why I'm asking whether am I audible or not. Okay. So I hope now it's fine and clear. So at 11:30 we'll end the class. So the pollen grain has two main layers, that is exine and indine. Exine and indine are the two different layers of the pollen grain. So guys, this is the typical structure of the pollen. The small yellow colored powdery substance which you observe. The small powdery substance which you observe. So each powdery substance, the structure is this. Yesterday itself I told you, you will be fascinated to see the different type of pollen grains in your biology lab. Okay, the teacher may be asking you to collect different flowers from your home, everything, from your surroundings and the way you come to school. Then they will be asking you to test the pollen grains in a white clean slide and will be asking you to observe it through the microscope. A really fascinating experiment. Actually, when I studied in my 12th standard, this was the practical exam, not the practical experiment. We'll get a project. Okay, we'll get a project also. So in that project I got this experiment, and I did experiments as a group. We 4 people did the experiments with 34 different flowers. 34 different flowers. And really amazing thing, really amazing. It will be very interesting for you to identify each and every plant differs in their pollen grain, differs in the structure of pollen grain. Some may be having a crab shaped pollen grain, some will be a club shape like this. Okay, so it has two main layers. The outer layer, guys, this is the outer layer. The outer layer you will call it as the exine, and very important, the exine is made up of a very non-destructible material called sporopollenin. It is made up of a hard and non-destructible material known as sporopollenin, and the inner structure is called the intine. There are two cells which are, this is a separation over here. So the large cell you will call it as a vegetative cell, and the small cell you will call it as a generative cell. So generative cell will divides to form the male gamete. Generative cell will divides to form the male gamete. Yes. Next one. The pollen grain is the male gametophyte, and we are going to discuss about the outermost layer, that is the exine. The exine is made up of a hard outer layer made up of sporopollenin, which is a highly resistant organic material that can withstand high temperature, strong acid, alkali, and enzymes. So sporopollenin is a very hard layer covering the pollen grain, which helps us to withstand high temperature, strong acid and alkalis, and enzymes even. Exine has certain apertures called germ pores where sporopollenin is absent, and through these germ pores the pollen tube comes out. Okay, through these germ pores, the pollen grains comes out, and this particular area you will have the absence of sporopollen in. The pollen grains can be preserved as fossils due to the presence of this hard and non-destructible material known as sporopollenin. The exine exhibits pattern as well as design. That is why I told you the pollen grain of different flowers looks different. It is due to the different deposition of this exine. Next, we are going to discuss in detail about intine, which is the inner wall layer. Intine is the inner wall layer. It is a thin and a continuous layer made up of cellulose and pectin. Okay, so the exine is made up of a hard and non-destructible material called sporopollenin, whereas intine is made up of cellulose and pectin. It is not breaking layer, it is a continuous thin layer. Next, a matured pollen grain consists of two cells, that is a large vegetative cell and a small generative cell. This large cell is the vegetative cell, the small cell is the generative cell. Yes, the vegetative cell is bigger and has abundant food material, and it consists of a large irregularly shaped nucleus. The generative cell is small and it floats in the cytoplasm of the vegetative cell. It is spindle shaped. It is spindle shaped with a dense cytoplasm and a nucleus. With a dense cytoplasm and a nucleus. During the time of pollen tube formation, this generative cell will divide to form two male gametes. In over 60% of the angiosperm, the pollen grains are shed at the two-celled stage. That is the pollen grain. Suppose this is the pollen grain will consist of two male gamete. That is, it will be released at a two-celled condition, two-celled stage. But in certain other organisms, that is in the rest 40%, the two male gamete, the generative cell divides mitotically to give rise to two male gametes. So it is shed at a three-celled condition. That is, during the time of its division, you might have seen a generative cell is there, a vegetative cell is there. Okay, but in certain plants, what happens, the vegetative nucleus will convert to form two male gametes. So cell number 1, cell number 2, cell number 3. So in the 40% of the rest of the plants, you will have 40% will give the pollen grains in a three-celled condition. Next one is all about the pollen grain. That is, the pollen grains have to land on the stigma before they lose viability. Viability means the capacity to fertilize the female gamete. So the viability of a pollen grain, the viability period of a pollen grain is variable in different species. It depends upon temperature and humidity. Viability of pollen grains of some cereals such as rice, wheat, etc. is 30 minutes. Whereas certain members of Leguminosae, Rosaceae, Solanaceae, potato, Rosaceae, China rose, Leguminosae, legumes have viability for different months, for certain months. But rice, cereals, etc. have a lifespan of pollen grains for only 30 minutes, but Leguminosae and Solanaceae, Rosaceae have a lifespan of more than 1 month. Economic importance of pollen grains. They are the richest source of nutrients. Pollen tablets. Pollen tablets are used as food supplements. Pollen tablets and syrup increases the performance of the athletes and racehorses. Guys, this is the pollen tablet. This is the pollen tablet. This is the pollen syrup. Okay, this is also pollen syrup, etc. So they are stored for years in liquid nitrogen at a temperature of minus 196 degree and known as pollen banks. And this process you will call it as what? Cryopreservation. Just take it down. You will call it as cryopreservation. The process of preserving of pollen grains in liquid nitrogen for several years at minus 196 degrees Celsius, you will call it as the cryopreservation. Pollen grains of some plants such as parthenium or carrot grass are allergic for some people. It leads to certain chronic inflammatory diseases such as asthma and bronchitis, asthma and bronchitis. I hope you are clear up to the point over here. From female gametophyte, from the female part, we'll be studying in the next class. Fine. Look how many slides are there. 86. 86 is the total number of slides I have prepared for you guys. And now we reach 23. In next class, we'll be studying about gynecium, about the main parts of gynecium, about megasporangium and the process of megasporogenesis. Okay. After the third class, we'll be discussing about pollination, the type of pollination in different organisms we'll be discussing. Okay, gatenogamy, autogamy, xenogamy, and the agents of pollination also we'll be discussing in the third class of this chapter. So after that, we'll go back to the fertilization event and finally to the pre-fertilization event. Give me a hearts on the screen if you like it. Give me hearts on the screen. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and leave the comment in the wonderful channel that is BioPoint, stream the world of bio. Bye-bye, guys. Take care. Dima, please ask the doubt in the Telegram group. Okay, I was not having a device over here to look at it. Okay, I told you, right, a small network issue was over here. That's why I was repeating, asking you whether you could hear me or not. Ubish bodies, I'll tell in the Telegram group if you remind me there. Okay. Nila also asked me, I hope I have explained this particular thing regarding the 3-celled and 2-celled condition. Yes, bye bye guys, take care.